Hey everyone, today we are talking about tire issues, and this is something you don't want to have a problem with when you're trying to get from point A to point B, so we are going to go through a few things that may help you out. And if you have any suggestions for us, that'll be great too. Hey everyone, this is David with Tigner Adventures, and my wife Ninette and our little cat Tansy. We live full-time in this rig, which is on wheels. And today we're going to talk about those wheels because tires are a really important thing. And I've been seeing some weird little things going around about why people have blowouts, for example, and things like that that are not true. And so, if you follow some of those advices, you're going to have some real problems. And so the idea of this video is to take care of tire issues that you may have that you don't even know about, and also just to kind of educate you on things that you need to kind of look at. We all can be educated on those things, and it's a good thing to be safe out on the road, and that's the whole goal. We like to be able to go from one place to the next and not have any incidents. We used to have a car dolly, if you look back in our past videos, and we were driving down the road and nobody said a word, but we just happened to, my wife says, "What is that?" And I turned just as the fender of our car dolly went flying off the car dolly into the side of the road. And luckily we were on the far right side of the road. And so I quickly pulled over, and when I got out, what I found was we didn't even have a tire left on that side of the car dolly. All that was left there was a rim, and we'd just been riding this rim with these wire things around it. Who knows how long? Nobody said anything. And we just happened to luck out on that particular thing. We were able to salvage that situation, go on, but that could have been a real dangerous situation. And what it came down to is the tires we had on the car dolly were not rated for what we were using them for. And that's what happens a lot with people, is they don't understand what those ratings are going to be. Since that time, we've actually bought Tire Minder. Now, we're not endorsing Tire Minder per se. I mean, it works great for us, and whatever you get to take care of your tires is more important than not having anything. So, but with Tire Minder, with this particular setup, we actually put a little valve thing on each one of our valve stems that takes care of the pressure. And we have had one situation when we first put this in, not too long after we put it in anyway, that we were going out of Reno, Nevada, headed towards California, and we got an alert that said, "Hey, you're losing air pressure." And when I looked at the gauge, looked on my phone, because this ties into my phone, I could see that the pressure of my tire was going down. And so I went through the little station they have there at California, and they asked them if I could pull over and check my tires, and they said yes. So when I did, the tire looked fine. And so I thought, well, I don't hear anything, it looks okay, I better just fill it up with air, and we'll try to limp along until we get to the next town. And so as I started putting air into the tire, I couldn't get the valve stem on there. I couldn't get the air pressure thing on there to quit making all this noise. And to come find out what the problem was is the actual valve stem, which is has a little nut on it, or a little nut that actually screws it into the actual wheel, was coming loose. And so when we drive down the road, that little valve stem would go kind of like this, and so it was letting air out as it went, and so we were losing air. So we were able to just take some pliers and tighten that up and snug it up, fill our tire back up. Didn't have an issue with that after that. But it was nice that we got notified of it before we had an issue. Because what happens is when tires get low on pressure, they start building up a lot of heat. And then eventually either they go flat and they fall all apart, or they actually blow out. And so there's a few things that can cause blowouts, and one of them is heat from underinflation, and another one is the tires are not rated for the rig that you have, the weight that you actually have. Okay, so there was a little fallacy, I would call it, going around on our village for a little while, that someone was saying you need to take out 10 pounds of air on your tires. Your tires have too much air in them, and that's why they're blowing out. Do not follow that. That is not the correct thing, okay? Now, if you don't have the right air pressure, then maybe you need to take some air out. But, you need to actually set the air pressure according to your rig and the weight that your rig has. So when you're talking about tires, no matter what you're running, they're going to have certain tires that are going to be, called for that particular rig. And one of the main things is when you're dealing with a motorhome or some type of a trailer, bumper pull, or fifth wheel, or whatever, you should go down and get it weighed. You really need to know what your weight is. The weight is the key, all right? If you are overweight, that's going to cause problems, but you could just be at regular weight and not running the correct tires, or you're not running the correct air pressure in the tires. So as an example, here is a picture of something that would be on the side of a trailer. You can find this somewhere in your rig, all right, if it's a motorhome. But this picture is showing that these tires, it's saying what kind of tires they're supposed to be, and it's saying that the cold tire pressure is supposed to be set at 50 psi. So that's the cold tire pressure. So tires, when you drive down the road, they just naturally get hot. They warm up, okay? They don't get hot, but they warm up, okay? And as they do, the air pressure rises. And so even though this says, you know, the air pressure is supposed to be 50, when you're driving down the road, it could get as high as about 55 or 56 or something like that. I don't know how much they build up. But like on my rig that's set at 80, you know, once my high temperature alarm goes off on my tires, if they get above, I think it's like 89, then, you know, it gives me an alarm saying, hey, your tires are heating up too much, all right? But tires just naturally heat up, and so you want to set them at the pressure they're supposed to be set at when the tire is cold. So that's not when it's been sitting in the sun all day, because the sun on the side of the tire, that's black. It's going to make the tire pressure higher, okay? So I usually get up, and the first thing I do is I turn my tire minder on the day that we're going to be one of our travel days, and I set it back to 0, find out what all the tire pressures are right then before the sun really comes up. So there's no sun on them or anything, and those are actual true cold tire pressure, and that's how I figure out what I'm supposed to be setting my tires at. So weight is important, and so we decided when we were buying tires to actually buy our tires at Discount Tire. And that was because Discount Tires are all over the place by any major freeway. But you know, another place would be like Walmart or something. There's a lot of local places you can buy stuff, but then they're pretty centralized to just a certain region or things like that. If you're going to be in those regions, that's fine. But if you're not, then it's nice to have something that's, you know, a little bit bigger of a chain type setup. Now, when we bought our tires at Discount Tire, they gave us this paper. And if you look down here, he actually highlighted our tire size, which is 116/120, and the weights are given to the right. And up at the top here is the air pressures. And he looked at our rig, and based on our weight, said you should be running your rig at 80 psi. Now, the tire's maximum cold pressure is 80 psi, and on the side of my rig, it actually says run your tires at max cold air pressure, which is 80 pounds. And so since we started running them at 80, because we weren't at first, when we first bought the rig, it only had 40 in them, which was really low, and the rig just kind of went like this, and it was just really sluggish, had a really difficult time. So moving them up to 80 like was suggested has really made a big difference. And if you look here, this is our weight chart, and we actually had this done. We stayed in an Escapees campground in Arizona, and so we actually paid to have our rig weighed. And so they went through and they actually do the weights where they put one on each tire and weigh each individual axle basically, and then they came back and said that your air pressure should be right around 78 to 80 pounds per tire. So they also will tell you, if you pay for that type of service, they'll tell you what you're supposed to be running your tires at for the maximum life of the tire and the safety of the tire. So that's what's important. So air pressure is important. The other thing that you need to understand is the tire. So how you look at your tire. So if you look at this right here on my tire, you can see that my tire it's a light truck 235/85/R16. So the R16 is just the rim size, so we don't really have to worry about that. But the 235/85 is how big the tire is and how wide the tire is. And so that's that rating there. But then if you look over here, you can see that it actually is showing this load range E and a rating of 120/116R. And so it's important to know that. And so if you go into Tire Place, then they're going to ask you about your tires or your rig. In our case, we gave them our actual date, year of our rig, and that it was a motorhome, and we gave them the weight, and then they said, okay, this is the tire that you're supposed to be running on that particular rig. So that's the people you should be listening to, is the tire stores. They're the professionals. They know what they're talking about. So don't mind what I'm talking about. I'm just giving you ideas here. You need to go back to your tire place, and that's the people that you really need to be talking to, because they're the ones that understand the tires. They know all the things about the tires and give you the real lowdown on what you should be doing to make sure you're safe. Don't listen to these forums that say, oh, you happen to be running a tire that's not rated for the weight you're running and you're having blowouts, so it'd be better for you to drop the pressure by 10 pounds and you'll be even better. No, that is not the right answer. So anyway, so listen to the professionals. So another thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the date code of the tires. Now, Discount says that your tires shouldn't be, in fact, they won't even work on any tire that's over 5 years old. So if you're out buying a rig, or you're just looking at whatever and you're looking at the tires, a lot of people, I looked at one rig, I did an inspection on one for a friend, and the tires were 10 years old, and I said, these tires are too old. He says, yeah, but they look like brand new. It doesn't matter what they look like, because rubber has elasticity to it. Is that the right word? And they kind of move back and forth, and the older they get, the harder they get, and so they don't that's why they say you need to get them replaced. So just because they look good doesn't necessarily mean that that's the tires you should be working on. So if you look right here, you can see this dot where it says dot code. Then you can look at dot, and it tells you some characteristics about the tire. That's the rubber stuff. That's really kind of what the manufacturer looks at. And then these other numbers on the side here are the numbers that you really need to be paying attention to. So 3718 is my numbers, and what that means is these tires were made in week 37 of 2018. So that means that these tires were actually made in September of 2018. And so, it's now 21, so 18, 19, 20, 21. So currently these tires are about 3 years old. And that's the thing that you need to be watching. And so then as your tires start getting closer to that 5-year mark, then you have to start thinking, well, you know what, I probably need to start getting these replaced, and at least you can budget for it, so it's not such a big expense. And then what we did is we replaced our front ones, and then we waited, and then we've replaced our tag axles. Those are the ones that get the most wear. And then we finally replaced our duals. So, you don't have to do it all at once, but you just need to be paying attention to it and watching it. So the next thing that we need to do is look at the tires. So I said tire pressure is a lot, right? We kind of check that, we want to make sure. But we also need to do a visual inspection. And I got a little bird friend here that's helping me out. So anyway, but we need to do a visual inspection of the tire. So what I'm going to do when I'm inspecting my tires, I want to look for any issues with the tire itself. And if I can zoom in right here, you'll notice that I've got a little crack there for some reason, and another one right here. So I want to check all my tires every time, just because I don't need any surprises when I'm actually out on the road. So I took the tire off and took it into Discount Tire. The reason I took it off myself was because I didn't want to have to drive my rig down there. But they checked that tire out, and they said, yeah, the tread is separating for some reason, so they replaced it. And all I had to do is just pay $20 for a new warranty on this new tire. So you gotta love tire warranties. I'll tell you, we have used those a few different times, so they are definitely well worth their money. And so instead of paying, let's see, I think that tire was $265 is what I originally paid for it. So Discount Tire. So it's nice that the warranty took care of it, and I just had to buy a new warranty. That was it. So anyway, that takes care of the inspection part of it. The last thing I actually do, you need to rotate the tires. And so in my particular case, my manual says tire rotation should be the two front ones get flipped and the two tag axles get flipped, and the duals you don't do anything with. And so, and the whole idea of doing that with the tires is that if they're wearing a certain way, then it just kind of makes them wear a different way, from rotating them. so that you get a longer life out of your tires. And so with that said, that will kind of close out this video. That's our last little tip. We'll say thanks for watching. Hopefully this was some good information for you, and I look forward to some comments, because I know I haven't covered everything when it comes to tires. And so if you've got some other things you'd like to suggest, please make some comments and let us know, and then that way we can learn from you. And that's kind of what this is all about. It's a two-way street here. I'm not the one just doing all the talking. Well, maybe I am. My wife says I talk a lot, but anyway, I do appreciate comments, and just let me know if there's something I've left off that I should be thinking about, because you know what? It's all about us getting to point A, or from point A to point B safely each time. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you down the road, and hopefully that'll be on our next video. So take care.